My name's Kyle Kemper. My mother's Margaret Trudeau. My father's Fried Kemper. My half-brother is Justin Trudeau and Alexandre Trudeau and the late Michel Trudeau. The narrative just doesn't add up at all. And, to see where we are now with, military rolling out an experimental vaccine plan for everybody, that just terrifies me. And it's
it is a World War III, and it is a psychological warfare. So there's the Chinese mafias that are in Vancouver, and there's a lot of money being funneled through the Vancouver region. So there are great concerns on many levels. There's many things going on. They've bought up a lot of our farmland. And I mean a lot of our farmland.
Is to flip the pyramid upside down so we can identify and break that power paradigm and hold them accountable. At the end of the
day, I agree.
We do need a new Nuremberg trials here, like a global of the people, by the people, for the people, to hold specific people accountable.
If you have not been looking at C60 as a means to significantly improve your health and your immunities, you should be. Here's why. First, a strong and healthy immune system is your body's first defense. And for those with a strong immune system, your body will adequately fight illnesses without medical intervention. Second, C60 is safe. As long as you're taking a high-quality C60 with no added fillers or solvents. Third, C60 is the best means of removing free radicals from your body that exist. It's at least 200 times better at this function than vitamin C and any other antioxidant. This is the magic. When you free up your body's resources from fighting free radicals, they then can focus their attention on healing. Every person has different needs, but the magic begins when your body can start to heal. So now it becomes clear you need the best free radical fighter that exists, and that is C60 with black seed oil and curcumin. Go to sarahwestall.com/shop and learn more about why this formula is so powerful. Also available by diffuser with ultra refined C60 oil to safely get directly into your lungs. It's also the best way to help your family pets by just being in the same room. Be sure to read the research and, of course, use the current coupons to save money when you buy. Patrons also receive a 10% discount. You can find that code at patreon.com/Sarah Westall. Remember, keeping you and your family safe is the most important thing you can do. Welcome to Business Game Changers. I'm Sarah Westall. I have Kyle Kemper and Amina Motala joining the program. Kyle is Justin Trudeau's brother, which is going to make a very interesting interview. And I also have Amina, who is, along with Kyle, are patriots working to help regain freedom and sovereignty for the people of Canada and the world. And what we're going to discuss is the Chinese that are in Canada, what that means, what the danger is, because we're in pretty serious situation with what's going on, and also acknowledge the fact that we're in World War III and what that means. A lot of people don't even realize that we're in the midst of a war, a cyber war, and how serious it is. And so we talk about that. But before we get into the interview, I wanted to share with you that I now have the movie bundle from the movie Finding Courage. It's about a family from China that dares to be free. And it's about their fight in the concentration camps and what they had to endure. And also with this bundle, you also get the 330-page book. It's called The Chinese Walking Dead, which includes interviews with over 24 former and current Chinese Communist Party officials sharing what life is really like in China. This is a must-have for anyone wanting to understand what life is really like and how strict the communist regime is and why they call it The Walking Dead. And you can get that whole bundle. It's normally $19.95. You can get it for 25% off using my code SW. And you can get it at sarahwestall.com under shop. But one of the things they say, Jersey Shore Film Festival said this may be one of the most important documentaries they've ever received. really is important for people to understand what's really going on in a communist regime, a very strict communist regime, and what these globalists have in mind for most of the Western world. So it's a must read. Again, you can get this and many other great items at sarahwestall.com under shop. Okay, now let's get into my interview with Kyle Kemper and Amina Motala. Hi, Kyle and Amina. Thank you so much for joining the program.
Hi, Sarah.
Hey, Sarah.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Ditto.
I'm really happy that you're here. We have a lot to talk about. I'm very concerned with what's going on in Canada and in all over the world, United States, Canada, the world. What's going on in Canada is going to directly affect the United States. People that don't understand that are not paying attention. And I want to talk about you two. First of all, what you're both doing. You both live in Canada. And who your background is. I mean, Amina, you've been doing such wonderful work all around Canada, hooking everybody together. And Kyle, you're a very interesting character. You have a pretty famous half brother, which you might want to talk about. And so who wants to start?
Ladies
I'll
first.
go. Yeah. Okay. So up here in Canada, for those that don't know, I actually have been working in the blockchain space for a number of years, and this is how I got to know Kyle Kemper. And but moving on from that, because that's not the issue today, I did find my way to meet Norman Traversy, who is privately prosecuting Justin Trudeau and also financial crimes in Canada. We have, I've worked with him towards finding solutions and finding a way, and we are now finding our way towards common law courts. And Norman is well on his way working towards things like that at the moment. And it is quite a movement that we have started. I would say also I've joined a team, the Canadian investigation team for General Paul Vallely. He's a major 2-star general in the United States, and he also collaborates with General McInerney, who is a 3-star lieutenant general. And we do some Canadian articles for him and helping to let them know what is going on today in Canada, as we have many threats and many things going on. We have a lot of threats from China at the moment, and it's very concerning. Hearing it from the generals themselves, it's a very serious and issue that is, it is a World War III, and it is a psychological warfare. I would say information war. So serious stuff going on, Sarah, up here. And, as you know, we are a family to the United States. So we are working together, especially us independent medias. I do have an independent media channel that I am just, really trying hard to share knowledge and connect people, as you said earlier, and helping to, just convey a better path of truth and where we are as humanity and what is happening. So, yeah.
Yeah, and I want to, as we get into this, I want to get into where the generals and you guys see China with Canada. I think that's a very, very important point. But Kyle, can you talk about who you are and your background and what you're doing?
Great. Yeah, sure. So, my name's Kyle Kemper. My mother is Margaret Trudeau. My father's Fried Kemper. My half brother is Justin Trudeau and Alexandre Trudeau and the late Michel Trudeau. I grew up in Ottawa, surrounded by, the politics and the people of the nation's capital. I went out to university in Dalhousie University in the east coast of Canada. After university, I worked in finance, and then I worked in technology, and then I worked in the restaurant industry, and then I had my Bitcoin awakening, and that was in 2013. And since 2013, I've been, basically completely devoted to cryptocurrency and Bitcoin. Last week, I was followed by John Ivison, who's one of the main reporters for the National Post in Canada. I messaged him on Twitter. I checked out his stuff, and it's like, okay, this guy seems like, not a total puppet. And and then, inquired, like said nice words, then inquired whether he had any crypto, and ended up getting in a crypto conversation with him. And then he asked to do a phone call about libertarianism versus authoritarianism. And so I hopped on the call with him. I, pride myself on being open and vulnerable, and one who's always available, kind of, for a comment or questions. And it ended up becoming a front page article on the National Post, on one of Canada's national newspapers, saying I dissent, and proclaiming me an anti-vaxxer, a Bitcoin entrepreneur, and an affectionate critic of my brother. So, that's where that lies. I'm building out a project called Swiss Key right now, which aims to be like a Swiss key or a Swiss Army knife for crypto, making it very easy and accessible. I truly believe that Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies represent, the red pill to the financial matrix. And, that's why I'm kind of devoting myself to this. With regards to COVID, I had been with Sophie Trudeau before she was declared COVID positive. So we took it very seriously in the beginning, like I think all of us did. And then there's just so many questions. So, we were taking precautions before anybody else. And then there was so much information, and then the narrative just doesn't add up at all. And, to see where we are now, with, military rolling out an experimental vaccine plan for everybody, that just terrifies me. And I've really got this sense, and this is one of the things I've kind of realized was, we've spent the last almost year now under the constant attack of fear from the mainstream media and the channels and the advertisements, etc., and our public health officials and government officials, etc., around the danger of COVID and what a threat it is to everybody. And now this vaccine, this experimental injection, is being positioned as hope and something to not question the safety of, or not represent any danger. So I find that to be very concerning. And and I feel like the reverse is true. Like, COVID is not something to be terrified of, but an experimental injection going into your bloodstream that has the potential to, modify the way that your body works and the way that your DNA acts is something I'm very concerned about. And we don't have really any transparency or accountability into the supply chain, into the ingredients, into the safety of it. We have no long-term effects known. So I'm a vocal opponent to the experimental vaccine. I don't appreciate being labeled as an anti-vaxxer, but if that helps you, sure, go for it, whatever. But I'm not anti-vaccines in general, but I definitely anti-experimental vaccine being deployed by the military and forcibly pushed upon the people. Even if the people are willing to accept it because they've been programmed to accept it, I still think that's wrong. And as our friend Amina and our friend Michael Swinwood has made a YouTube video about, this is tantamount to genocide. Even if it doesn't kill everybody, this is about taking away our rights and imposing strict conditions on our lives, which is tantamount to genocide. Yeah. So I think it's very, very serious.
Well, and also from the fact that it's just not serious for such a large portion of the population, and then they're forcing anybody that can actually critically think and have a healthy criticism of people in power and question authority to make sure things are legit would question this. It's very obvious that there's an operation going on here. The other thing is that there are very successful and effective therapeutics that would make the number of deaths so low that a vaccine is just absurd. And an experimental one at that. So, and then we question, why aren't they allowing these effective therapeutics to be accessible? So that's just another indication that this is an operation.
Indeed.
And so you answered my question. I was going to ask, so what do you think on all this based on the fact that the front page newspaper, obviously they're doing it because for them it's a salacious story. For me, it's more, I want to help people and I want people to see the truth because we see this as mass genocide, a massive operation against humanity. And it's not even the people in our countries, but even the shutdown. We already know with Rocco Galati's lawsuit and all in Canada that 14 times more people in Canada are dying from the mandates than they are from the actual COVID. And that's what his research came up with. And it's like 1,000-page documented research. But even what's worse is the 130 million children worldwide that are now put into critical starvation mode and expected to die because of the shutdown of the supply chain. So obviously, with that many more people dying, that's way more than the number of people dying from COVID. So they have a different agenda, and it's mass human. This is just incredible, mass crimes against humanity. So my goal is to try to bring smart people who can make a difference to help sort this out. And on top of the fact that we have COVID going on, we also have an operation going on with the Chinese seeming to take over Canada. And being honest, Justin Trudeau seems to be very much in line with this operation, which is probably hard for you as a half brother. Where are you with that, knowing that you're seeing, I suppose it probably brings some sadness to you, that your brother is aligning himself with something that could be just so atrocious?
Yeah, I mean, you said it. It is very sad for me to see, what is taking place. And, I don't believe that this is Justin's decision to be doing what he's doing. I believe that he is the leader of the party and is in a spokesperson position and has, a legion of worm tongues in his ear whispering dark black magic towards, really against the best interests and the safety of Canadians. So that's where I feel it is sad. From my perspective, I wish we could have more open discussions, conscious, critically thinking discussions around the safety and what's best for Canadians. But it seems like his agenda is to be, part of this global push being orchestrated by the global corporatocracy to bring about, some end goal that they see being their best outcome for civilization, which I believe runs counter to the human potential and to our civilization's and humanity's best interest. I truly believe that we are on the precipice of a golden age. And, while this whole COVID, and everything surrounding it is happening right now, it has created a lot of darkness in the world, but at the same time, it has created a lot of light. And out of this chaos, in order for us to transition properly into a new age, there is definitely a requirement for chaos. Things need to get shaken up before they can settle into a sacred pattern. And I believe that's, what we're going through right now. And we're seeing all sorts of different light workers coming together. I believe that the population is very concerned. The majority of people are very concerned. The mainstream media portrays the population as not being concerned, as being willing and supportive of this narrative. But again, that is a false narrative that they are pushing that doesn't actually represent the people. I know from my conversations with actual people on the ground around the world, and I don't know if it's just that I attract these type of people, but in general, it seems like people have questions and concerns, and they are asking them, and they are scared. They're like, the fear has definitely had an effect, and there is a brewing opposition to all of this. So to anybody out there who feels like they might be alone, you are not alone. you don't have to go very far too to find someone who will share very similar values with you. You might not agree on everything, but that's the great thing about humans is we don't have to agree on everything. And that's also the great thing about a functioning society, is that we all do not agree on anything. There is opposition. Opposition leads to innovation and creation.
Don't you think with this kind of situation that all the other differences, all the other political differences that we had before seem so trivial? I mean, this is something that really we should all be uniting on. I don't, like in the United States, the Democrat versus Republican, our normal differences seem so trivial in comparison to really, fighting, combating this global agenda that they have against humanity. And I want to ask you, Amina, what?
Right, and put on
go ahead.
Spell.
Go ahead.
I said we've been put on this divisive spell too, where we've been so compartmentalized into silos, and everything has become so combative. And when we're dealing with Twitter or Facebook, and you don't really recognize that you're actually talking to another person on the other end of that. It just becomes a lower vibration, and it's not really human. The way that we're connecting, when you actually put people together, and this is one of the great tragedies of all this, has been the breakdown in freedom of assembly and and right to travel, and to be able to actually come together and realize that, hey, we're all on the same page here. We've all got questions, but when we're stuck in our little silo, being fed by even those of us who are aware, we're still receiving like an insane amount of propaganda, subjective media that's trying to craft our worldview and narrative into compliance with an agenda.
Absolutely, yeah, and that's what makes it so crystal clear to me that there's an operation going on. Amina, you've been working with two great people, and I've had the chance to interview General McInerney, and I would like to interview General Vallely. I'm sorry.
Vallely.
Yeah, Vallely. What are you learning from them and together you teaching them about what's going on in Canada with the Chinese troops? Because my understanding, and I was one of the first ones to cover it when I had Kevin and Ed on, that there are indeed Chinese troops on the West Coast, and they have seen naval ships off the coast of Vancouver, and that you guys have actually have an agreement in Canada with the Chinese military to administer the vaccine to the Canadian people. But that, with the recent declassified, it's supposed to be classified, but it came out and it wasn't redacted like it should be, documents coming out of the Canadian government showing a much deeper relationship with Chinese military and Canadians than people thought. Can you talk about where that is at and what's really going on to as much as you do know?
I would... I only know so much, Sarah, and the general has actually put out quite a few articles with threats from China on his website, and that's standupamericaus.org. And it's a great website to reference to for a lot of this information. Now he's putting a lot more light onto Canada because it's very prevalent, and the threats that it can pose to the United States. So that is now focus, is the articles we're doing for Canada today. China is definitely a threat from what I know. I think it's true what you said about the troops in the West. It's not, some of that's not 100% confirmed, but some of that is true. I would also say that they have had troops here in Petawawa, Ontario, where they have already trained them doing tactical warfare. Apparently, they don't have the skill set to train their troops in China, so they're here. And our soldiers are training them, also awarding medals and awards to their generals on our land. So this is absolutely ridiculous. It is an incredible, what is this even treasonous at this point? Like, what are we doing with the communists here in this country and giving them awards and giving them that podium. It doesn't, to me, it doesn't compute. So, and I would say also there's definitely a lot of threats. There's the Chinese, and just with corporation and the business and all the corporations that they are starting, and they have started already over the years here in North America. It's not just Canada when I say this, as well as they have mafia. So there's the Chinese mafias that are in Vancouver, and there's a lot of money being funneled through the Vancouver region. So there are great concerns on many levels. There's many things going on. They've bought up a lot of our farmland, and I mean a lot of our farmland. So I've also heard, and this is not something I can back up with anything, this is by ear, but I do feel it's worth mentioning. We are in the midst of a World War III, and I will quote that from the generals. We are in a war. This is serious. This is real. And a friend of mine has informed me of somebody that he's spoken very closely with, who's let him know that there are Chinese people across our country in Canada who have been training, getting gun licenses and training at our target shooting places by many Chinese people across our nation. What is going on? Like I have to question that. Why are they training in such large numbers, and why across our country? And the numbers were said to be quite large. So I can't, like I say, I can't back that up with anything. It is a conversation I had, but I do feel it's necessary to share some of this stuff at this point. And like the general had mentioned, he did an interview with General McInerney. I will actually give you the link to that for people who would like to listen to it. It's very, very good. A lot of information there on this subject. And, towards the end, the general made it very clear that we need to stand up, we need to rise, and we need to fight back. And those were his words. So I think they're planning on, bringing forth the military, perhaps martial law. This is the conversations that they were having in this interview, and that is the direction that seems that they want to be going in, because of all the treasonous acts that have been going on with the election, the things going on with the electoral vote and the Supreme Court. So there is cause and just to defend the Constitution, and I believe that is in the planning. But he also made it very aware to let us know that we are in very good hands, that they're on top of it, and they're on top of any threat of Chinese troops or that could be invading in our countries, and they are on top of it. So those are encouraging words, and I want that positive spin on that, because people are unaware and feeling like sitting ducks, and people are completely clueless probably to even what I'm saying right now, and that's a concern.
Yeah, and let me tell you that we're very concerned because we don't believe that Biden is on top of it. We believe he's on that side. We are very concerned because we don't believe that Justin Trudeau is on top of it. We believe they're on the side of the Chinese. So who's on top of it? Trump, who lost an election, supposedly, which we all know it was fake and rigged, but they won't let anybody the courts won't even hear the cases. And, there was 500 computer scientists that have been working with Truman Black that were supposed to testify in the Senate yesterday, which was Monday, and the Senate abruptly canceled. There's all these things going on. So who's on top of it? Trump? And I believe he probably is, but what does that mean? You know what I'm saying? What does that mean? We have two heads of states supposedly coming in who seem like they're on the sides of the Chinese.
Well, that's a great question. They definitely have said that it is not Biden. If Biden were to come into power, then that agenda will move forward. So we definitely don't want to see Biden come into power. Trump is necessary. It is important that Trump wins. And by the evidence that's there, he has won, and by a landslide. So we'll be determined to see. And we have to wait till January 20th is the last date before we have the results to that. So if they're already announcing it in the media, this is part of their propaganda. This is part of their war tactic, that they, that they already manifest what they want in reality by saying it already. So, that's not true.
Yeah, they said it the day of. They fixed it. And then they won't let any kind of information. YouTube is shutting everybody down who even says anything about fraud right now. So obviously YouTube is part of this operation. When I had General McCurney on, I talked to him about this being an operation. I said, this is very clearly an operation. And that's what we were talking about. And he talked about the Insurrection Act. He talked about the fact that we're at cyber war and how serious this is. And, we talked very clearly about that. And the fact that we need to go into martial law and that Trump needs to take complete control. I have not seen that occur yet. At some point, this needs to happen because people are getting worried. They're also getting worried that this vaccine is being administered by Trump, by the military.
Yes.
And so what does that mean?
I agree with that. I question that too. And I don't have an answer for that. I do know that the General Valley had mentioned that this action may take place before Christmas. So it's something that could be right around the corner. And that's all I can say, really. But
yeah, I understand.
Yeah, I agree with.
It's hard to know. Okay, well, Kyle, what do you think on this front? I mean, you brought up black magic. I'm going to go there a little bit, only because I've been interviewing. We do know that the people on the top they worship a darker source, right? And they're not like the masses don't realize that there is a religion that they worship and they believe in it. And one of the sources that I have been interviewing, who was very, very high up in this, I call it a cult, said that 95% of the people who are actually stuck in that system don't want to be in it. There's only about 5% that actually believe in it and are hardcore that want to be. The rest don't want to be in it. And the way it sounds is that your brother might be one of that 95%. What do you see going on? Do you think that they don't have a choice? Are they going to be implementing this and he's going to go down with the ship?
I hope not. I hope that everybody who's part of that 95% who are just caught in the web, understand, even if there's compromising information against them, or it's the 5% is holding something over them, understand that contract that they have is with that 5%. It's not with everybody, not with God. At the end of the day, their souls are on the line here. And so, being able to forgive, and especially as a global, as a race, being able to forgive and accept and move past and not seek to go out there and burn and hang and just impose, remove one dictatorship and install another one. We need to understand that this is an acceptance movement and not a resistance movement as we move forward and raise our collective vibration above the reptilian vibration, which is of to hide and to scare and to prey off people's fears. And as everybody is being very scared and anxious and unhealthy, it's just feeding that, which is just I feel like giving that that dimension more power. So the thing that we must all attempt to work on is raising our vibrations and moving past just safety and security as our underlying kind of operational guidance, and recognizing the true potential and the beauty that we are capable of, and how that we can work together, and also being able to admit that in the words of Ho'oponopono, be able to share love, and to say I love you to the world, and then be able to say I'm sorry. You don't need to think of what you're sorry for, but just the intention to say I'm sorry, and then to ask to please forgive me, like, ask for forgiveness as well. Like, it's okay to ask for forgiveness. It is good. And then, like, finally to say, I'm grateful and I'm thankful. Those four statements are proved to be very, very healing, and something that, the globe kind of needs now, as we need to heal from the damage that's been caused. And, ultimately, there is, like, we can't look, like, as we just described, there is no, like, other group except for potentially, like, an extraterrestrial force to come and save, like, the world right
It's
now.
us. It's us.
Us. It is
Yes.
us. It is humanity must save itself at this point.
Yes.
It's not a nation. It's not a party. It's not anything. It's a collective that needs to stand up and say no, and that, like, permeates across it all. And this is, like, when we can rise up and say, like, no, and not in a pointed gun and pull the trigger and, like, cause more damage, and because that will just only feed into their system. It's just peacefully saying, no, I resist. And I will not. I do not succumb to this. I acquiesce.
And I've been doing a lot of talks with Jessie Saboter, who's a chaplain, and she's teaching me a lot about that system. And I've come to the conclusion that 95%, personally, I think there's, what you're saying is absolutely true. We should forgive and help them, and we need a truth and reconciliation movement with that group. But I am not there with the other 5%. I don't think that they are savable, and I don't know what to do about that, because I think they are so far gone that they want to destroy us, and we have no option.
And that is the very top of the pyramid. That is the very top of the pyramid. And they have enjoyed the ability through the centralized structures of the world to have visibility and control over the rest of the pyramid. Now, where I feel like blockchain technology affords us a chance, and open source data and accountability and transparency, is to flip the pyramid upside down, so we can identify and break that power paradigm and hold them accountable. Like, at the end of the day,
agree.
like, we do need, like, a new Nuremberg trials here, like a global of the people, by the people, for the people, to hold specific people accountable. Like, when we can develop this list and have trials, have questions, like, and those are people like the Bill Gates of the world, and like the Tony Fauci's of the world, and the, what's his name, like Zucker, like, the CNN, the CNN leader, and there's a number there. I don't want to specifically, like, name the names, but they're like, this is what will come out in
and behind that
investigation, in understanding the power structures, because it is all available. Like, all the data is there.
We have to
You just need, like, a coalesced kind of action force to help, like, investigate in the purpose of justice and accountability for the betterment and the best interests of humanity. I've been going through a custody challenge down here in San Diego, which has been very telling about the law, and understanding that the courts are only interested in the best interests of the child. I parable that to where we're right now. Courts, justice, humanity, be only interested in what's in the best interests of our race, of our global human race, and remove the politics from that, and understand that, like, crimes against humanity are real. Human trafficking is real. Genocide is real. Like, understanding, like, breaking your medical code of ethics, that is real. And all these groups have standards and bodies in place for accountability. It has just been lost. There is just, like, our own governments, as you mentioned earlier, Sarah, they're shutting the door on the courtrooms, on the Senate, on, like, the Canadian government just shut down. And now they've gone all virtual too, which is, very easy to press the mute button on someone, or, like, say, end meeting, if it's going somewhere you don't want. So
Well, it's kind of like when Galileo, somebody wrote a story, and I want to repeat it, and I can't remember where I read it, but when he was trying to prove to the Christian, the Catholic bishops that, or cardinals, the Catholic cardinals, that it was, the earth really was the sun, we rotated around the earth, the sun, and the earth wasn't the center of the universe. And he wanted the cardinals to see for themselves and come and look in the telescopes. And what they did is they came, but when they looked, they closed their eyes so they could have plausible deniability. They didn't see it, and so they could say it wasn't true. And I think that's what we're seeing here. But I think the Nuremberg trial is another whole Nuremberg trial, and very serious here. I mean, we have to do this and push, because these crimes against humanity are very extreme. This is worse than World War II, and we're seeing it go down. It's done in a much more sophisticated way, but it's much more damaging. And figuring out, and 5% is just a number that's thrown out there, but figuring out who those numbers are, and anybody else that's a victim of the system, even if they committed crimes, but in a victim sort of way, let's have some truth and conciliation so that we can rise up and be a better species. But we really do have to weed out the ones who are bad apples, because they'll just keep doing it. And we can't allow them to keep doing it. Our children are too precious to allow them into a place of power that will, each one of them are destroying thousands of little people, and innocent people. Well, no matter how old they are, they're children of God, and they're being destroyed by so few people that have really bad intentions. We got to know who those people are and remove them from power. We have to.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, in closing here, what do each one of you want to make sure that my audience knows and they can share? One thing that I've always said is that it's really difficult, it's stress-inducing to know so much and not be able to do anything about it. What have you found that you're doing that's helping you and can help others feel like they're making a difference?
Do you want me to go ahead, Kyle?
Sure.
Either one.
Sure. I think what I've actually had Mike Swinwood, that Kyle had mentioned him earlier. I had an interview and he spoke a lot about the human conscience, and it was really, really uplifting to hear this, but it is very important at the same time. And that is that it's a time, I think it's really important for us to look at our own self and go there with who we are and what we see and what we've lived in our experiences and what we see going forward and how we choose to go forward. And that's really about your own self journey and your own conscience. And I think this is a time of great reflection to that for each person. It's not so much telling the other or trying to convince the other what to see and how to see things and what to think, because you can't do that for one. And we have such a divide. We are being led by a divide and conquer mentality, and they seem to be succeeding with that right now. So take it back to you. Take your power back so you can rise up with yourself in this, and you can ask questions. Because when you start to ask questions, you start to use your own mind. You start to use your own being and your own conscience. And I think that is really, really important. So ask questions. And we all have a vision. We all want the same thing for the most part, I imagine. And that is this, a peaceful, joyful life of family and productivity and creativity. And so why don't we take that responsibility upon ourselves to find that way, rather than being told constantly how to go about doing that? So ask questions, be with yourself in this, and learn more about who you are and really see the deeper meaning, because we've lost a lot of these teachings and we've lost a lot of this insight in our journey. And we need to bring that back. Like Kyle said earlier, we need to come together. We need to rise up. And we need to take that initiative and responsibility if we want any changes, because we know that you can't change another person. You can't change another anything. You have to only change yourself. So this applies if any time in our existence, it applies now. And it's really, really important. And stay away from mainstream media, please.
Absolutely.
It's absolutely evil.
Absolutely. What do you have, Kyle?
So the mainstream media is like, you can observe it, just observe it with like, your blue light glasses on. They tell a lot, but it's very, very, subjective, presented as objective, and it has, programming deeply within it. Now, in terms of like the path forward, I totally agree. Focus on thyself and peace with thyself. Like heal yourself before you attempt to heal others. If you're looking for ways to get involved, identify where do you think it is that you can help the most. And I also ask you to call on your your inner creative, your inner artist, and think about how you can be effectively subversive against this machine. One in the mask trials, or in the mass daily mass tribulations, like I've got a pretty wild outfit that I wear outside now, and basically a full costume, but I also have like a burqa in case I'm really in getting in a challenge. And that's like that's kind of like I feel like the level of oppression that we're at. So like that is a symbol of one thing that can be done. But I would also aside from a specific kind of action like that, I would look toward something like the 10 principles of Burning Man, which I have right here, which are radical inclusion, gifting, giving gifts to other people, being good, helping out, decommodification, like understanding the sharing nature of society and not thinking everything about dollar signs, radical self-reliance, being able to take care of you and your family. Like, this is really important. Understand, like, become radically self-reliant. Radical self-expression. You are in control of the way that you exhibit yourself to the world. Communal effort, work with those around you, come together, make things happen. Civic responsibility, you are part of society, you have a voice, you have action, own that action, you are powerful. Leave no trace, obviously, like that's a Burning Man thing specifically to the playa, but understand the legacy that you're leaving behind, and are you proud of it, or is it a mess? Participation, get involved with things, like as when people are doing something, chip in. They might not be asking for help, but they probably need your help, so chip in, participate. Even you don't need express permission to participate, because when we operate under radical inclusion, it's understood that you are welcome to participate in these things. Then last one is immediacy. Act, do, don't wait, do. Go out there immediately. Like, think on it. Don't punt it. Like, do that after Christmas or next year or some future time. If you've got a burning desire to do something, do it. Like, make it happen. So those are 10 principles of Burning Man that I would say are strong, kind of underlying fundamental. And Burning Man, I would say, is an incredible collective gathering of light workers, all really pushing the bounds of what is possible. It has different connotations, and I'll get now to my next thing, which is the 4 agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz, which are 4 simple agreements to try and live one's life by, to be the best that you can. The first one is be impeccable with your words. Understand that your words cast white magic or black magic. Be conscious of what you're saying. Be impeccable with your words. Do you want to be on the side of the light or the side of the dark? Well, your words will dictate which way you go. The second agreement is don't make assumptions. Understand that based on the words, like we're often told to believe a certain thing immediately. So be very careful about making assumptions based on other people's inferences and words. Third is don't take anything personally, bad or good. People will, especially in our realm of what we're doing and speaking,
absolutely,
getting like, we're getting all sorts of haters coming on and like trying to hurt and trying to knock you down, like the black magic. And then you got all sorts of people coming being like, oh my God, and like fluffing you up. But be careful with that too. Like, don't take that personally. Just stay strong, stay focused. Like, and it comes to the fourth agreement, which is just always do your best. In everything that you do, just do your best. Just give it your all. If you give it your all, you have no regrets in life. We can't take anything from you. Do that, and you unlock, like, the divinity within yourself that we all have within us. So those are the four agreements. And then the last thing that I like, that I spray painted on the back of my jacket, and has been a very powerful kind of statement, has been to be truthful, be fearless, and be gentle. So in our actions, like, guiding words. So by doing all that and by helping operate underneath those conditions, like, you can find peace within thyself. You can make a difference with the collective. Together we can come together. We can radically collaborate to not just create, like, to move past a win-lose scenario, to move past a win-win scenario, and move to a win to the power of win scenario. And I truly believe that's what we as a collective race, species, civilization, need to do to raise our vibration above this low reptilian vibration that has the world in a stranglehold. It's not like, an extraterrestrial. I mean, I don't know exactly, but I'm not saying, when I say reptilian, it's not actual reptiles. It's a vibration. It's a dimension that is within all of us, that controls us, that can control us. It's when you get scared. It's your pain body, sometimes, as what Eckhart Tolle kind of refers to it as. Rise above that. If we all rise above that, we will defeat it, and we will be able to shape our world together in a beautiful, prosperous manner that really brings out the best of all of us. And we can hopefully enter the 1,000 years of light, as has been prophesized.
Very good. Okay.
Amen.
That was really good. Now, where do people find your information, both of you? I don't care. Kyle, you can start. Where's the best place they can go to learn more about you or the projects that you're working on?
Sure. So I like, Twitter is kind of like, one of the points. At Kyle Kemper on Twitter. SwissKey.io is the website that, I've built for that. I have a book on Amazon called The Unified Wallet, Unlocking a Digital Golden Age. It's a short read. If you have questions about Bitcoin and blockchain and what's possible in terms of this technology to, give us all back individual control over our money, data, and identity, I encourage you to read it. I don't demand anything, but it's one thing you can do. I'm on Patreon too. I think I have 2 subscribers. I'd love to get to 3.
That's awesome. How about you, Amina?
That was good.
That's great.
YouTube. So far, they're letting me stay on there, but I am one of the smaller ones, but still putting out some good information. Amina M on YouTube, and also on Bitchute, Amina M, and I'm on Twitter, Amina Motala. As far as websites, I'll mention the one with the General Vallely. That's his website, and it's standupamericaus.org. And we do have a Canadian rendition there for those who want to follow what's going on here in Canada. And JusticeforCanada.ca, and that's the Norman Traversy and myself, our movement with Justice for Canada, and also my own website, AminaMotala.com. Blockchain project I'm working on is with Carnomaly.io, CARNOMALY.io. Great new project coming up, and it's going to launch in January. It is amazing what it's going to do for the car industry. So, yeah, that's about it.
Excellent. Well, thank you both so much. And if I don't speak to you before Christmas, have a wonderful Christmas if you celebrate Christmas. Otherwise, have a wonderful time with your family. And thank you so much.
Thanks, Sarah. You too. Merry Christmas to you. And thank you so much for all that you do. Thanks, Kyle.
And Sarah, just one last thing. How can we help you?
Yes.
That is such a great question. The best thing for people to do is, I got kicked off of YouTube when I had over 125,000 subscribers, and they're part of the operation, obviously. And so what we really need to do is get off of those platforms. Follow me on Odyssey. Go to my website at sarahwestall.com. I'm also on Bitchute, but and on Patreon. If the powers that be decide to shut down social media, make it difficult to listen to, different platforms, I'm also on sarahwestall.tv. It's behind a firewall. It's another way for me to be able to communicate with people. I'm just very concerned that what they want to do is shut down all sorts of communication, and communication is what we need to do. We need open lines of communication.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, do you have and you've got a community of people who I'm sure are listening and want to figure out okay, I've already subscribed. What can I do now? What else can I do? How can I help awaken other people or channel people into these conversations? Because, we feel that if more people just heard these, then, the lights might go off and maybe people will have their red pill moment, if you will. So do you have stickers or any information that we can we can not arm, but we can provide to the fans and supporters and other light workers out there to assist?
That would be great. I'm not that organized. I have sarahwestall.com.
Okay,
that's probably the best way.
sarahwestall.com. So anybody who's listening who might be a graphic designer, if someone wants to whip up a badass Sarah Westall sticker, with a wicked slogan, if you've got some slogans, let's get some stickers out there and encourage people to print them themselves and put them in again, following being in the gentle manner of that equation. Be gentle with your placement, but be skilled with your sticker placement.
That's great.
To catch people, in the real world out there.
That's great. Thank you.
That's great, Kyle, because there's a lot of talent out there. Yeah, and people can use and forward their talents and participate that way. That is a great idea.
And everybody goes to the shopping center right now, so everybody's there. Everyone's there. We're all going to the big boxes. Be clever, because
that would be great. Because I have so much for humanity to see on my website, and it's not about me. It's about getting out this information, and that's my passion right now. And I don't know why, but it is, and I do know why, but I don't know why at the same standpoint. You know what I'm saying? I know you.
I feel the same. Yeah.
Right. And so it can't, and you are just doing the best. I know it. You're just you're crushing it in your own regard, doing this. Now others, again, who are out there who wish they could be, but recognize you're not Sarah Westall, but you have power too. And you can do things too. How can you make a difference? How can you tune two people today? 2 people. How can you get 2 people to watch this or to go to the website? Don't worry about 1,000. Don't worry about that. Just 2, actual impressions, real impressions. Think about that. Let's not don't because expectations are the blueprints for disappointment. So if you set a big expectation of yourself in your quest and what you're trying to do, you are setting yourself up for a perceived self-failure in it. Whereas, break it down to little wins. Think about just, one person, don't even worry about 2, just one person. You can do that. And after you do that, you can pat yourself on the shoulder and you can feel good about it, and you can move on to the next person and thinking about it. And know that your actions are everything. And you are on omnipotent. That's all I have to say for now. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Thank you, Sarah, so much. Amina,
awesome.
Thank you for helping
Thank
make
you,
this all possible.
Kyle. Thank you.
Ho'oponopono.
Thank you both.